Hello, Social Good Summit, Australia. Thank you so much for having me. How is everyone feeling today? Good? All right, everyone sounds really tired. It's been a really long day, and I can appreciate that. I've been here since 10 this morning myself. Does anyone else eat Weet-Bix dry? Or is that just me? My man, thank you, awesome. So I always say I like my Weet-Bix like I like my sense of humor, dry and a little difficult to swallow. So I apologize for any jokes I attempt to make over the next 15 minutes. There's some people who are just naturally funny, and I am not one of them. So as I was preparing for the presentation today, I thought back to 12 months ago. I just got back from New York, had been completely transformed in my thinking about how we can make Australia a sustainable country and how we can make countries in the Indo-Pacific region sustainable by 2030. And I first publicly presented on the goals 12 months ago, actually, and it was about what are the goals, what are the SDGs, what are the MDGs, or what were the MDGs for the people that needed to do a little bit of a touch-up there. And for the past 12 months, I've been talking about the same thing. So today actually marks, this is history for me, which doesn't matter to any of you, but it matters to me. You're sitting in the room where I'm presenting to the very first audience that I don't need to educate you on what the goals are, what they aim to achieve. I'm here to tell you today how we're going to achieve them. So that's a big thing. So everyone, for being informed global citizens, give yourself a round of applause. That's awesome. I wrote my speech for today when I was hiking through Tidbinbilla Nature Reserve in the ACT. I think better when my mind's clear. And it was such a great reminder about the goals and why we need to achieve them. I was walking through, looking at this. This is the picture I actually took last weekend. An incredible view. Looking at the mountains, smelling the fresh mountain air, and just appreciating how beautiful our country is. Saw all the native flora, fauna, was alone, which is the best part about it. And I realized that this is what the goals are about. I'm not a mum yet, so one day I would like to be. And I think we saw the most beautiful 8-year-old earlier who has solidified my dream to be a mum, because I want my child to be that informed and that amazing. And I was thinking, I want to share this hiking experience with my kids one day. I want to be able to have them see these mountains, have them smell the fresh mountain air, listen to the songs the bird sings, have that brief moment of panic when your foot slips on moss because you're too busy talking about a presentation and you're not concentrating on what you're doing. I want them to have that experience. I don't want them to miss out because of my generation and the generation before me. And that's what the Global Goals Australia campaign is about. It's not about us, not just about us. It's not just about our future. It's about our children's future and our grandchildren's future. So the Global Goals Australia campaign, we set up about 6 months ago officially. 12 months ago unofficially. We were doing all the fun stuff like collateral, getting everything organized, starting to get into lobbying. But we've only been around officially for 6 months, and we've seen incredible progress over the last 6 months. And I'm so proud of the team that I work with and all their efforts towards the campaigning for the goals. This is our logo, if you ever see it around. This is Global Goals Australia. I do need to mention that I made this logo. I did not go and spend time to work out which goal applies to which area, which is the question I get asked the most. They're just there. There's no specific plan. We work with 5 main areas of engagement, and the first and arguably the most important is government. So we heard from Jamie from DFAT earlier today, and it was fantastic to have a representative from DFAT because it was Julie Bishop who signed off on the goals in September of last year, the United Nations. But it's not really DFAT's responsibility anymore, which I'm sure that they'll love me for saying that because it's got them off the hook. They can't be responsible for the domestic implementation of the goals. And that's what we really need to focus on. There are international targets that, yes, we do need to meet, but there's a lot that we need to address in Australia. So that's why we also work with state and local government in the campaign. Now, in Canberra today, there are 141 candidates standing for Legislative Assembly election. I went and did my vote yesterday. So, a bit of background. I was born in Perth, moved to Canberra about 4 years ago, and I am a proud Canberran, and I know some of you are giving me the most confused expression right now because they don't know of anyone who is a proud Canberran, but I am. I love living in Canberra. There's a big city feel with the small country town vibe. There's the buzz of the political scene, which sounds boring to some, but for me, I find it so exciting. And beautiful mountain ranges, like you saw earlier. Very much the bush capital. Imagine my excitement and my enthusiasm, my pride, when earlier this year, the ACT government announced as the first state or territory in Australia that we were going to achieve 100% renewables by 2020. This is a massive commitment. Does anyone know what the renewable energy share in the global energy mix actually is right now in Australia as a country? A little higher. Yeah? Awesome. So we've got 10, 11, 12%. We're at 14%. So good work, buddy. We are only at 14%. So this makes this 100% commitment amazing. However, this is the only one that exists of this magnitude that's really achievable by 2030 or 2020 here. The global goals state that we only need to get to 28% by 2030, so it's not that much of an ask. However, I think we can do a little better than that in Australia. There's countries around the world that are already at 100%, that have targets to achieve 100% renewable energy, and I think we can get there. And with the energy crisis in South Australia a couple of weeks ago, we're working at the moment with state and federal government to make sure that we can start meeting some of these targets. And we're looking at sustainable, achievable, and economically sound policy to make sure that we meet Goal 7. The other level of government that's really exciting is local government. So we did a policy mapping exercise earlier this year with the City of Vincent, which is a local council in Perth's inner north. And we found that through this mapping exercise that over 120 of the 169 targets actually apply to local government. So it's very much the responsibility of local government and not just state and federal government. You can have a look at some of City of Vincent's incredible policies that they're working on. They're just leading the way in the achievement of the goals at a local government level. We've got an article on our website, dated a couple of months ago, so you can go and have a look at that. And then, of course, we work at a federal level as well. So does anyone remember there was some sort of election thing earlier this year? Anyone remember that? Yeah? Yeah. We worked throughout the whole campaigning period to get commitments from federal government. So we mined through the internet, found 1,600 candidate email addresses, emailed those candidates, sent them messages on Facebook, sent them messages on Twitter, called them, went to their office, harassed them until we got commitments. And I'm very proud to say that with the work of our team, we got commitments from independents, from minor parties. But by far our biggest achievement was we got 3 written commitments in less than 3 months of being in business from the 3 major parties in the country. Tony Nutt, on behalf of the Coalition, who some of you might know as the campaign director. Mark Butler, on behalf of Labor. And Senator Lee Rhiannon, on behalf of the Greens. The commitments first came back and they were about how much money are we going to give to overseas development assistance, which is a big issue, but it's not all the goals are about. We sent them back and said, thank you very much, awesome, try again. And we got the 3 written commitments 3 days before the election, and it was for the domestic and the international achievement of the goals. our focuses for the next 12 months. Goal 8, jobs and growth. And Goal 9, Innovation Nation. So I don't know if you might have heard those phrases before, but we're very much focused on using these 2 goals as a centerpiece for the other 15. So we can start working with federal, state, and local government and mapping out some policies, some programs that we can implement over the next 14 years, because a year's already gone, nearly, to achieve the goals. The next point of engagement is business. So business is absolutely crucial in the achievement of the goals. And we heard from Catherine today from NAB about how it's not just about corporate social responsibility anymore. And she stole my speech a little bit, so I had to chat to her in the green room. But it's fine, because it means that I don't need to talk about it as much. We're looking at business as a paradigm shift away from corporate social responsibility and into this field of completely different sustainable business models. And we're working with businesses to do this. So earlier this year, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon appointed 17 SDG advocates, one of whom is Richard Curtis, who we work very closely with, Project Everyone. And you would have seen some of the videos earlier that I went over to London for a week earlier this year and worked with the team on those, which was awesome. And another is Paul Polman, who's the CEO of Unilever. And Unilever is a great example of a business that's really leading the way in the achievement of the goals. The next point of engagement is NGOs and community. So we've heard, again, from so many speakers from NGOs today about all the innovative and amazing ways that they are working to achieve the goals. And we don't do any direct aid work at Global Goals Australia. We are purely focused on education and advocacy. So we partner with NGOs from all over Australia to support them in their mission to do direct aid work with the global goals. The next point of engagement is education. So we work with World's Largest Lesson, which is a branch of Project Everyone in the UK. They've written some incredible lesson plans on the goals and on the achievement of the goals for children, which are very accessible. We're currently working with federal and state government to come up with a series of curriculum-aligned lesson plans which teach the Australian curriculum through the lens of the global goals. And there's so many ways that we can engage kids. It's not just through some boring talk. Well done on sitting here today, mate. You've done an awesome job going through all this. Kids need to be really engaged. There's a lot of videos that we have, cartoons, Sesame Street's on board. Once you have Sesame Street on board, you've got every kid on board. The other part of education that we need to focus on is universities. So we heard from Ranjit earlier today, who I know is one of our advocates, and we're so proud to have him on board with the campaign. And I know he runs a course here, the University of Sydney. And it's important to note that the global goals don't just need to be taught in international development classes. They need to be taught in science classes, in business classes. This is earlier this year. I've done a few lectures. This was one at the University of Notre Dame in Western Australia, and I did a lecture on midwifery, 3 hours. We talked about midwifery and the global goals. And the last part of the campaign is grassroots. Now, we're trying to use these goals to start really engaging people in the whole political discussion. Politics can be very dry and boring, like my Weet-Bix. And we're trying to make it more fun. We're trying to make it colourful. We're trying to put pretty pictures to it so people start getting engaged. This is the team at the Australian Institute of Sport. They're all swim teachers, and so many of them are passionate about the goals. This is the UN Youth Group at the Australian National University, also really passionate and really engaged in the goals. And this is some corporates in Western Australia at the Men in Black Ball, also super engaged in the goals. So we're seeing different people from all different fields, walks of life, come together and actually listen to the goals. Now, I'm talking to a group of people today who have chosen to be here for a reason. You're already active, you're already engaged. And to be honest, you're not my target market. The people I want to be talking to are the people who aren't already active and aren't already engaged. But you can do me a favor. Because I'm only one person. I can talk a lot. I could talk for a long time. But I can't talk to everyone. Now, what I'm asking you to do is go back home after this, take all the fantastic information you've learned, and find 3 or 4 people in your life who you can talk to about the goals, about the achievement of the goals. People who are ready to listen, because they're the ones we need to get active. They're the ones we need to get engaged. When people tell me that they don't like politics, I show them this. This is what we call the 6x3, for very obvious reasons. And I say, do you care about any one of these? And I've never met a single person who doesn't care about at least one of these goals. So let's just quickly take goal 14, for example. Let's say they care about life below water. Great, well that means that they care about goal 12, responsible consumption and production, because we need to make sure that we're managing our waste. And then rivers run into the ocean, so we need to be sustainably managing our waterways. So there's clean water and sanitation, life on land. And then we talk about, once we have sustainable management of our fish stock, well, we can have good nutrition. And good nutrition leads to good health. And I can keep walking around the room, but it's really hot up here and I'm getting tired. But I think you can get the idea. All of the goals relate to one another. I find it hilarious when people say, my favorite's this goal because it's the most important. If we don't have this goal, we don't have any of the other goals. Because that applies to all 17 of the goals. We can't achieve the goals without achieving all of them. And you can come and test it on me later. I will mention that I did want to do law before I wanted to do international humanitarian development, so I will put up a case if you try and argue with me. But these are the goals that we need to engage people in. And this is probably the easier way than me running around the room. And I completely forgot I put this slide in here. So people ask me what my favorite goal is, and they assume it's goal 5, gender equality, because I'm female, and I do a lot of presenting and talking, and apparently the two go together. But it's actually goal 17, which is partnerships for the goals, because I've just listed off 5 key areas of engagement we need to achieve the goals. And we're not going to achieve them unless we have all of those areas engaged, because we will see government disengage when everyone else starts to disengage. If you have the opportunity, go out and talk to your political representative. They are paid by your taxes, and they'll listen to you because they want your vote. Your voice counts, and it means something to them. If you have any questions, I'm running out of time because I do, again, talk too much. Social media for both Global Goals Australia and for me. I'll be hanging around. You can come and ask me anything you want. But all I ask is that you go out and you tell everyone about the global goals, because you have the power in your voice to make a difference to the future of Australia. Thank you.